In the realm of narratives, victory often dances with uncertainty. Recently, Ukraine celebrates a supposed triumph tied to the so-called Flamingo missile. Yet, what remains hidden beneath the surface? There is little to show, no images, no videos, just a series of dramatic press releases. As each evening unfolds, President Zelensky unveils grand tales of opposition vanquished and strategic successes achieved. But are these stories more about spectacle than substance? Imagine the scene: a high-powered press conference, dramatic music swelling, and confident voices proclaiming success. Kiev's officials announce the destruction of a Russian ballistic complex in a classified military operation. Yet, as with Flamingo, evidence seems to vanish into thin air. No photographs of the alleged destruction, no satellite confirmation, just a narrative thread designed for public consumption. The spectacle unfolds like a Netflix drama, with carefully curated visuals and stirring rhetoric filled with heroism. But amid the bravado, the unmistakable whiff of fabrication lingers. For every claimed achievement, the specter of a deepening economic crisis looms. The reality in Ukraine contrasts starkly with these stories. As public proclamations grow louder, so too does the truth that the country is grappling with decay, a narrative of struggle concealed behind gleaming headlines. Could it be that the louder the statements of victory, the more glaring the absence of tangible progress? Each day, the dichotomy widens, the nation's leaders continue to recount wins, while the citizens bear silent witness to the unraveling of their economic fabric. Inflation pierces the veil of optimism, and hope dims as daily life becomes an uphill battle. Yet, what is next on this uncertain journey? With another supposed economic achievement, Ukraine is poised to paint the canvas of resilience yet again. Talks have emerged about managing Russian oil exports and securing new alliances in energy. The tone might be uplifting, but what lies beneath these announcements? Is Ukraine truly turning the tide or merely exchanging one shadow for another? As the curtain rises on this continued saga, we see an economy tethered to external aid, boasting inflated numbers, while citizens silently question their reality. The government heralds improvements, yet grocery bills balloon, and salaries lag. Is this the new normal, the contrast between digital narratives and street-level struggles? Winter's approach casts a harsher light on these economic proclamations. Ukrainian families brace for freezing temperatures, while leaders promise systems are in place to keep the lights on. But is this confidence a precursor to another reality check? With the lingering frost in the air and whispers of discontent growing stronger, how will the citizens navigate the biting cold and darker days ahead? Ukraine's journey unfolds like a gripping novel, each twist and turn a reminder of the stark contrast between perception and reality. Will hope triumph, or will the winter be a chilling reminder of the battle still ahead? In the previous segment, we explored how economic claims in Ukraine, like soaring salaries and stability, masked hidden costs. Victories existed only on screens, while real life brought inflation's bite, forcing people to flee due to dim futures. The government filmed upbeat clips, insisting the plan was flawless. Imagine this: what if declaring victory could erase reality itself? Picture President Zelensky boasting joyous claims, as if sheer optimism could freeze looming hardships. Yet, outside the glow, empty assurances crumble under winter's cruel embrace. Flashback to my childhood winters in Ukraine. The sharp sting of frostbite on fingertips, the acrid smell of coal-burning stoves choking the air, the muffled crunch of snow under boots echoing silence. Eyes watering from biting wind, we huddled for warmth, but those sensory ghosts haunt now. Can words alone vanquish a brutal winter? Zelensky vibrates with energy. He declares Ukraine's power grid stands firm. Partners pledge unflinching aid through the cold. Rhetoric flows like a heroic saga. But whispers from those allies warn of dwindling resources. Support wanes, yet official charts paint a rosy glow. Shocking fact: in regions, infographics flash fake stabilizes. Lights supposedly flicker on in distant provinces, while families salvage with flickering candles and roaring generators. What control is this, when darkness reigns and confidence is the only tool? The energy web teeters on the brink. Houses shiver, inadequately insulated. Buildings lack vital gear. One strike could plunge whole neighborhoods into icy void. No real fixes emerge. Just swirl of reports and staged talks. Ministers tout reserve strengths. Zelensky vows system reinforcements. Opponents' laughter echoes, humiliated by denial's farce. But on screens? Victory parades over frost and chill. Unexpected twist, reality claws back, relentless. People seal windows with rags, ignite makeshift hearths. TVs blare triumph over privation. Yet, this mirrored Ukraine faces bitter truth. As snow piles deep, what unseen danger lurks beneath, ready to shatter the illusion? In a country battered by war, the glimmer of victory shines bright on screens, but is it merely an illusion? As winter's chill creeps in, Ukrainians face the daunting reality of power outages and resource shortages, all while their leaders paint a picture of resilience and triumph. Why do they proclaim victory when the struggle for survival is palpable? Join us as we journey into this paradox, where hope clashes with harsh truths. The mood in Ukraine pulses with an uneasy energy. People huddle in dimly lit rooms, using makeshift heaters as the temperatures plummet. Outside, the sharp wind bites, and the air is thick with an unsettling silence, broken only by the faint crackle of winter fires. Meanwhile, on the television, a contrasting narrative unfolds. President Zelensky, with his confident tone and bright visuals, assures the nation that their energy infrastructure is fortified and ready for the trials of winter. Yet, as he speaks, whispers of doubt linger in the shadows. Reality tells another story. Citizens wait in the cold for warmth while leaders conduct press conferences filled with grand statements but lacking intangible solutions. As the cameras flash and reporters scribble notes, the promise of victory hangs heavily in the air, like smoke from a dying flame. Have they truly prepared for the winter? Or is this just another season of empty words dressed in hope? Inside the dimly lit rooms scattered across Ukraine, desperation simmers. There's a palpable disconnect between the reality of flickering lights and the grand narratives played out on stage for international audiences. The energy grid struggles under the weight of winter's demands, yet the discussions among politicians in well-lit rooms seem divorced from the struggles outside. The promises made echo hollow, as the warmth they boast about does not reach those in need. Now, as the cold bite of winter sharpens, two contrasting worlds coexist within Ukraine. One is a vibrant display of optimism filled with plans for a brighter future, while the other is stark and brutal, colored by the struggle to survive each passing day. As leaders assure the world of progress, the reality of empty cupboards and chilling nights looms larger than ever. Can victory truly be claimed when survival is at stake? And while the government touts optimistic growth and energy independence, the people feel the weight of rising costs and dwindling resources. News anchors declare triumph over challenges as consumers feel the strain of prices escalating beyond their means. Yet, in this tug-of-war between perception and reality, who truly wins? The bright lights of press conferences might shield the truth, but as winter deepens, will the facade hold? The stakes are high, and with each passing day, hope must navigate the treacherous waters of truth. As conditions worsen, the question remains, who will stand to fight for the real victories needed to survive? The warmth of promises does little against the cold of reality. The people watch, and they wait, wondering when the light will truly return. In the end, can truth still shine through the cold veneer of political machinations? The survival of the spirit of Ukraine rests on this delicate balance, where each heartbeat echoes against the backdrop of the fierce winter ahead. In a world where hope battles despair, the stark contrast between the glamorous promises of political leaders and the harsh reality faced by everyday citizens becomes all too clear. While officials in a luxurious setting bask in the glow of accolades and lofty declarations, the reality for many resembles a chilling nightmare, homes shrouded in darkness, families huddling against the cold and silence, and a populace yearning for tangible aid amid the chaos. As televised discussions unfold, a dissonance emerges between the brilliant rhetoric of leaders and the struggles of the people. Here, promises of support are made, yet the same familiar refrain echoes, "We will continue to stand by you." But what good are words without substance? The situation remains stagnant, with vows going unfulfilled and results staying elusive. The television screen displays a narrative of stability, but the circumstances depict a starkly different story, one dominated by uncertainty and striving for survival. Amid these dichotomies, the political apparatus continues with its theater of governance. Ministers and advisors, their faces projected into homes across the nation, provide commentary that attempts to assuage fears and paint a rosy picture of progress. Each day brings new promises masked as action, laws designed to reassure, yet unaware of the desperate conditions outside their walls. It is a manufactured reality where officials clamor to appear as effective leaders, their words polished for media consumption, even as the ground beneath them crumbles. In eerie contrast, life outside these fortified chambers is marked by hardship and sorrow. Citizens await aid that never arrives. The disconnect grows more stark as political figures, encircled by advisors and bright lights, speak with an air of authority about strategies and reforms, unconcerned by the palpable suffering faced by their constituents. Meanwhile, the mounting national debt, now exceeding 8 trillion hryvnias, casts a long shadow over any declarations of success. Here comes the twist: the nation's economic state paints a bleak picture. Reports of inflation reflect a rising cost of living, while salary increases are outpaced by soaring prices. The realities of hardship seep into homes, filling them with the weight of despair, while outside, the facade of progress and financial stability continues to be presented to an unsuspecting audience. As winter looms with temperatures threatening to plunge below zero, the urgency of the situation escalates. Citizens prepare for the season with scarce resources, facing nights shrouded in darkness and cold. The leaders, however, assure the public of their preparedness, promising assistance that appears increasingly tenuous. This winter may not only challenge survival but starkly expose the discrepancies in narratives pushed forth by those in power. In this intricate narrative of hope clashing with grim reality, one might ask, how long can promises sustain a society amidst such turmoil? Perhaps it is time to question not just the rhetoric, but the actions, or lack thereof, that are contributing to this dramatic divide. Can a nation thrive on empty assurances? Or will the truths of life outside the political theater ultimately claim a louder voice? Each day that passes without authentic solutions intensifies the stakes, while the backdrop of winter joins the chorus of uncertainties, reminding all that reality, in its rawest form, cannot be silenced by mere words. The clock is ticking, and real change demands a reckoning. In a country where victories are announced daily, is it possible that reality has become merely a facade? Ukraine, a place of paradox where triumphs are proclaimed yet rarely seen, exists in a parallel universe. Each announcement emerges not from the battlefield but from a carefully crafted narrative, unveiling a society caught in the throes of bureaucracy and economic struggle. Despite grand proclamations and reported successes, the daily lives of the people speak volumes about their silent despair. Ministers beam over green energy partnerships, applauding themselves for achievements that remain intangible to the citizens. Here, the populace is reduced to mere statistics, burdened with mounting debts and surging utility costs. In this alternate reality, every declared victory is overshadowed by a relentless cycle of hardship, with individuals grappling to make ends meet. As Ukrainian news broadcasts shine with optimistic headlines, the atmosphere tells a different story. Thousands have fled the war-torn landscape, those who remain struggle amid escalating prices and dwindling resources. The front lines are not solely on the battlefield, they extend into everyday life where survival becomes the ultimate battle. The political elite thrives in this dynamic, crafting elaborate narratives while the hardships of citizens go unaddressed. While lofty speeches fill the air, echoing promises of recovery and independence, the reality is one of uncertainty. Economic and energy challenges loom large, forcing families to resort to makeshift solutions to stay warm through the bitter winter. The struggle is palpable. The sight of flickering lights in homes contrasts sharply with the confident declarations on state television. With rhetoric painting a rosy picture, the truth remains hidden. The warmth of homes is starkly absent in the bitter cold, revealing a government disconnected from the very people it professes to serve. What will it take for this illusion to shatter? Will the echo of hope transform into tangible change, or will the deceptive glow of propaganda continue to blind the nation? As flickers of reality seep through the cracks of the constructed narrative, a haunting question arises: how long can this precarious existence last before the weight of despair eclipses the hollow victories proclaimed in the media? In a year marked by ongoing struggle, can true resilience emerge from this tapestry of disillusionment, or are the people destined to wander through a life defined by unfulfilled promises and dreams that seem ever out of reach? Only time will tell how this dilemma unfolds in the heart of Ukraine, where survival and hope cling together against all odds. In the previous segment, we glimpsed a Ukraine shrouded in illusion, where presidential speeches shine brighter than streetlights, victories are sketched on paper with debts scribbled beside them, and nothing truly shifts amid the hollow promises. Have you ever stumbled upon a shocking revelation that flips your entire worldview upside down? Imagine a nation trapped in a bizarre parallel universe, where words replace reality, and slogans cover up the crumbling foundations like a cheap plaster. Ukraine today stares down this grim truth, where declared triumphs are nothing but smokescreens for abysmal failures, leaving millions grasping at shadows. The air thickens with the acrid scent of burning optimism, as citizens huddle in dimly lit rooms, the echo of applause from televised addresses clashing against the rumble of empty stomachs and frostbitten toes. Rhetorical whispers linger. Does anyone truly believe these fairy tales anymore? Picture this bleak landscape unfolding under the weight of relentless illusion. Here, in this twisted new reality, triumphs exist solely in digital claims and broadcasted narratives, not in lived experiences where the cold bite of truth pierces the skin. News releases flutter like fall leaves, each one claiming innovation, yet the essence of progress has morphed into mere illusion, a spectacle designed to dazzle rather than deliver. The word novelties once whispered of genuine advancement, but now it rattles hollow, masking the void beneath gleaming ads. Propaganda substitutes for power, its grating buzz infiltrating every corner, turning vital energy into faint echoes of outdated rhetoric. Optimism disguises itself as nourishment, yet the sharp tang of stale bread and dwindling supplies assaults the senses, while patriotism masquerades as electricity, flickering on and off in homes deserted by dim hope. This cycle persists, day blurring into day, an unrelenting drumbeat of denial. One voice exclaims triumph with theatrical flair, the timbre rising like a siren in the night, another voice shatters under sobs, the wet slap of tears hitting cracked concrete floors echoing through silent streets. Alongside, artists of deception sketch grandiose wins, their brushes gliding over canvases of misinformation, while ordinary souls shed layers of resilience, the rough texture of ragged clothing clinging like a second skin, bearing the tactile ache of unrelenting hardship. Voices from above chant endlessly, promising light, while shadows deepen, the chill of doubt seeping through walls like icy fingers. If circumstances once conjured doomsday fears, stirring a feverish dread palpable in racing pulses and sweaty palms, Ukraine now lingers in a numb limbo, simply striving not to vanish into the abyss. And herein lies the harrowing crux, a divided land, where decrees pile upon decrees in endless loops. The globe offers approvals that arrive hollow, reforms echo without substance, aid whispers of currency that never materializes. All encapsulate in that refrain: we continue to support. Yet what endures, and for how long, before cracks widen, exposing the facade? These dispatches repeat in numbing loops, portraying unbreakable stability. Vows as infinite as the horizon, outcomes circling zero. Meanwhile, in Kiev, the ranks swell with self-styled custodians of the populace, their faces familiar under studio spotlights, ministers, consultants, military pundits, legislators, and mere orators elucidating why paths align to perfection. Daily revelations unveil fresh endeavors, novel statutes, reiterated mandates. These figures inhabit a silo of unreality, unfazed by the turmoil outside wooden doors and glass barriers. The imperative remains poise and eloquence on obstacles termed transient. Ukraine's president boasts of financial triumphs, while hidden debts pile up, crushing everyday lives. Imagine the bitter taste of inflation eating into your wages, the constant dread of rising prices like a shadow over every meal. How does Zelensky spin this economic mirage into victory when reality screams defeat? Shocking truth, our leaders herald wage hikes that evaporate faster than morning dew in a scorching heatwave. In the last segment, we uncovered Zelensky's so-called triumphs, rockets that vanish like ghosts, strikes on enemy targets with zero proof. Yet the propaganda machine rolls on, faking heroism where failure reigns. Now, dive deeper into his economic wins that mask a crumbling foundation. Transferring official jargon to plain speak reveals a stark void, no genuine wealth, just borrowed glory. Zelensky proclaims rock-solid finances, as citizens watch the currency soar beyond salaries, jackknifing costs like a sudden storm. This stark divide yawns between rosy reports and grim streets, where stability feels like a cruel joke, scripted yet utterly hollow. And then, fresh bulletins from the government rattle in. Average wages in Ukraine climbed to 26,000 hryvnias. Statisticians pat themselves on the back, and Zelensky weaves another tale of economic prowess, projecting growth and gains. It sparkles on paper, 2.7% uplift, national currency strengthening, upbeat trajectories. But step into the marketplace, and the illusion shatters like glass underfoot. Grocery prices surged 15 to 20%. Milk and bread snatch heavier portions from pockets. Gasoline? Nearly doubled, stinging like sharp thorns on tires. Real purchasing power? It hasn't budged, instead, sparked a downturn, leaving wallets lighter, spirits dimmed. Families strain to make ends meet, the air thick with murmurs of hardship. On television, charts glow brightly, greens and blues flaunting reform successes. Ministers grin widely, touting positives. Each evening news casts an optimistic veil, ignoring how these gains drown in rampant inflation. Behold Ukraine, a realm where mountains of debt reign, yet officials crow about booming growth. They tout minimal wage boosts, 200 hryvnias here and there, swallowed whole by skyrocketing electricity bills, crackling like faulty wires in the dark. Reforms morph into mere showy displays, devouring budgets for cameras, not solutions. These triumphs linger solely in ledgers, while lived reality bombards people with relentless squeezing. Inflation's grip tightens, siphoning lifeblood from the populace. Citizens flee, yearning for horizons untarnished by despair. No futures glimpsed, just endless void. Authorities film hopeful montages, assuring all unfolds as planned. As if uttering "we conquer" might erase the tangible mess. This propaganda facade dazzles brilliantly, yet remains devastatingly vacant. Scripts dictate rising pay, gleaming economies, soaring costs. Yet who beholds this mirage? Only the scribes crafting the headlines. Awaiting now, the chilling onslaught of a harsh winter. Forecasts warn of bone-deep freezes, dipping to -12 degrees Celsius or lower in spots. Scorching winds, heavy snows, energy outages loom. Ukraine's grid, battered by relentless attacks, teeters. Zelensky rallies with fierce declarations, our infrastructure stands firm, allies pledge unfailing support. But whispered truths seep through, resources dwindle, aid contracts. Official graphics gleam, readying for warmth and light, some regions afloat in fantasy. Households huddle with lanterns, generators humming like desperate prayers. Infographics declare control, a mockery when darkness envelopes neighborhoods. Ukraine's power balance precariously dangles. Power plants groan under strain, infrastructure crumbling like brittle leaves. Any jolt could plunge cities into abyss. Instead of fixes, briefings echo, conferences drone. Zelensky vows reinforcements, ministers cite reserves, empty promises fluttering in the gale. Our nation braces for winter like frontline assaults, minus troops, tactics, or fuel. Citizens stuff cracks with rags, kindle fires for comfort. Screens blare victories over frost and chill, yet cruel reality prevails, unyielding. Picture this unthinkable irony, Zelensky weaves energy abundance while fields lay fallow, crops rotting unseen. Does he truly hide vast yields to starve Russia, or is this another smokescreen? In prior tales, economic delusions unfolded, wages clamped by inflation, debts masquerading as gains, leaving lives hollowed. Government spins these as progress, but cracks widen, exposing fragility. Now, twist, seed supplies dwindle, farmers hoard for winter, prices soaring like wild flames. What unseen famine looms? Farmers toil in frostbitten soil, hands numb from clay and chill. Air reeks of spoiled harvest. Panic rising. Zelensky claims bountiful reserves exported to allies, crippling foes. Yet reality? Stocks vanish, hoarded or decayed. The stench of neglect wafts through villages, touches of hunger gnawing deep. Official boasts inflate yields, millions of tons, but markets tell another tale. Gluten exports surge? Alleged, yet warehouses empty. Russia's bans fuel the fable, painting Ukraine as granary to the world. Propaganda swells, every grain a weapon. Yet grower woes bleed truth, subsidies delayed, equipment scraps. Rhetorical roar, how does Zelensky parade food superiority while stomachs growl? Cliffhanger, as harvests shrivel, mobilization calls echo, will fields lie barren, empire of lies exposed? Recapping the wind down, Zelensky hails energy resilience amid winter's wrath, grid fragile, promises hollow. But here's the bombshell, food security crumbles, mocking the facade. Ukraine hailed as breadbasket to nations, while internal stores rot. Zelensky trumpets massive grain dispatches, crippling Russia's belly. Words drip drama, enemies starve, Ukrainians feed allies. Stats dazzle, 65 million tons exported, economies overwhelmed. Sensation builds, sanctions bite, food prices rocket globally. Drill down, and the facade fractures. Domestic production slumps, stocks plummet. Staple goods scarce, vibrant hues of fresh produce fading to wilted scraps. Senses assaulted, sour odor of moldering fruit, tactile prickle of empty shelves scratching fingers. Families forage like scavengers, dread mounting. Rhetorical dagger, does Zelensky starve his own people to claim global heroics? Experts murmur, actual yields halved, hidden famines brewing. Government camouflages with alternative sourcing, yet taps dwindle. The bitter irony tastes like betrayal, exporting phantom wealth while locals endure whispers of scarcity. Will this thread unravel the tapestry of delusion? Cliffhanger, rumors swirl of coalition cracks, sanctions weakening, corridors reopening. What betrayal lurks in Zelensky's shadows? Looping back, food exports lauded as weapons, but internal dearth deepens, pretense cracking. Ukraine's daily grind spirals, airstrikes disrupt, populations drift. Zelensky vows reconstruction after victory, aid flooding in. Promises gleam, billions pledged, cities reborn. But gaze closer, infrastructure raised, aid trickle versus overrun needs. Sensory chaos, dust-choked ruins, acrid burn of scorched earth, rumble of distant blasts. Official data beams progress, homes rebuilt, services restored. Zelensky gestures proudly at maps, sands shifting. Controversy rises, funds diverted? Zelensky pockets rumored, twisting foreign goodwill into private vaults. Shocking probe, does ego eclipse aid, leaving shambles as monuments of deceit? Residents endure makeshift shelters, odors of unwashed despair clinging. Questions pierce, why glorify restoration when lives crumble beneath lofty claims? Twist, audits reveal mismatches, billions vanish, Zelensky's circle enriched. Cliffhanger, as cracks widen, allies murmur withdrawal. Will the charade collapse, exposing a king with borrowed robes? Revisiting echoes, Zelensky paints reconstruction miracles, yet ruins dominate, aid misused. Ukraine's triumphs unfurl as paper dragons, flamingo missiles unproven, strikes fabricated, economy illusory, energy volatile, food hoarded, aid squandered. Twist here, Zelensky classes Russia's retreat as inevitable, yet maps show stalemates. Questions ignite, why inflate wins when costs mount? Sensory jab, sorrow-laden air, blood-stained patches of advances. Officials gather, Zelensky orates valiantly. Crowds applaud scripted cheers. But undercurrents stir, morale fractures, desertion soar. Rhetorical fury, how does Zelensky proclaim destiny when soldiers flee shadows of loss? Cliffhanger, leaked dispatches hint at ceasefires proposed. What compromises hide in Zelensky's foxhole? Circling to core, economic tales warped, wages illusory, debts piling, winter biting. Now, ultimate revelation, Zelensky promotes negotiated settlements as weakness, but cracks surface. Zelensky bellows no capitulation, fighting till crush. Allies nod, sanctions intensify. Propaganda roils, Putin flailing, Ukraine ascendant. Sensory weave, echoes of sirening alarms, scent of cordite, grit of trenches scoring skin. Yet truth erodes, casualties overwhelm, territories stagnant. Metaphorical lash, does Zelensky costume stalemates as epics, soldiers' sacrifices dismissed? Intelligence whispers, Russian proxies infiltrate, offensive stall. Government censors leaks, spinning failures to feasts. Questions hound, why pursue glory when peace dangles? Twist, Zelensky's private jets flit abroad, seeking funds while troops bleed. Obscure honor? Cliffhanger, diplomatic cables reveal back-channeled talks, Malimony scheming. Betrayals brewing. Does Zelensky's reign crumble under its own hype? Tracing paths, earlier parts dissected fake wins, missiles myths, strike fabrications. Economy teeters on loans, promises. Winter looms brutal. Food dwindles. Aid dissipates. Now, war's endgame, Zelensky perceives triumph inevitable, but reality quakes. Ukraine positions for counter-assaults, Zelensky vowing reversals. Dramas unfold, elite units trained by West, caches amassed. Hopes kindle, retake Crimea, end agony. Zelensky evokes historic rallies, Nezalezhne resilience. Sensory shouts, March boots thundering, flags whipping in gale, sweat-salted victory anticipation. Yet skepticism festers, armories bare, morale sagging. Reports murmur, ammunition drought, troops underfed. Rhetorical blade, how does Zelensky herald surges when basics lack? Twist, Western pledges wane, Zelensky overseas scrounging. Allies' patience phrase. Cliffhanger, frontline mutters grow, peace feelers extended, Zelensky isolated. Will the fantasy implode? Recurring motifs, Zelensky's claims collide with destitution. Wages inflated yet eroded. Debts engulf. Salaries rise to 26,000 hryvnias, juxtaposed 2.7% growth, but prices inflate 15 to 20%, gasoline doubling. Families impoverished, fleeing voids. Governments video optimistic assurances, yet people shiver in darkness, harvest fragility, aid misallocations. War stalemates, morale crumbles, peace murmurs. Ultimate interrogation, does Zelensky foster sovereignty, or perpetuate illusion, victims amassed? Unexpected turn, Zelensky's son Alexa surfaces and hacks. Revealing luxury amid ruin. Rhetoric raises, how quench fires with egotism. Cliffhanger, international tribunals stir, accounts demanded, Zelensky's palace quaking. Will truths shatter the spellbinding saga? In summation echo, Zelensky's empire of tales, economic mirages dissolving into winter grit, food famines, fought fronts. Now, grandeur's precipice, tide shifts unexpectedly, adversaries rallying. Sensory climax, howl of fleeing masses, scorch of betrayed trust, weight of unfulfilled oaths. Reflection looms, is victory a haze, or Ukraine's awakening cry? Pause. Breathe the chill reality. Reader, what veil lifts for you? Will Zelensky's narratives endure, or unravel? Cliffhanger, as global gaze sharpens, seismic revelations approach, what secrets buried? The final curtain descends. Zelensky's parallel realm crumbles, truth's piercing illusions. Vivid hues of propaganda fade, leaving stark canvases of struggle. Slavic idioms invoke resilience, yet agora buzzes, evolution imminent. Yet threads weave anew, economic debts at 8 trillion hryvnias, internal burdens piling. Salaries stagnant beneath rises, markets mocking stats. Winters assail without mercy, grids fracturing. Food staples vanish, populace hollowed. Aid diverted, war wearies on myths. Zelensky's era confronts reckoning. Sensory coda, muffled sobs of forsaken families, acrid smoke of bombed zones, icy winds of forsaken promises. Questions eternal, does victory birth in delusion? Twist conclusive, Zelensky discoursed path to prosperity, but audits unveiled colossal drains, allies withdrawing. Cliffhanger ultimate, as populaces rally, revolutions whisper, what dawn awaits? Echoing arcs, Zelensky's odyssey from phantom triumphs to abyss brink. Now, posterity's verdict, realities converge, truths illuminate. What legacy inscribed? Inconclusive gaze, Zelensky's chronicle closes on dissonance, claims versus chasms. Narratives fracture, awakenings surge. Sensory farewell, bitter draft of reality, tactile grip of accountability. Thus concludes the saga, Zelensky's empire of esoterica dissolving. Questions linger, shall illusions persist, or liberation prevail? Unexpected coda, global expositions erupt, Zelensky's facade fracturing irrevocably. Shelfhanger eternal, as spring whispers renewal, Ukraine forges paths anew, what destinies unfurl. Recapitulation finale, from missile myths to debt dungeons, winter woes to war weariness. Zelensky's veneer cracks, expose raw beneath. Epilogue beckons, revolutions brew amid betrayed brews. Cliffhanger cosmic, stardust revelations, what stars guide future's flight? Final chords, Zelensky's tales tarnish, truth's triumph. Vivid imagery of shattered promises adorns the canvas. Rhetorical rhapsody, dost throne yield to truth? Twist transcendental, Zelensky exiled, eras evolve. Cliffhanger cataclysmic. In a world where every headline spins a tale of triumph, Ukraine's narrative seems to dance perilously on a tightrope of optimism and reality. In the midst of economic turmoil, President Zelensky proclaims victories that feel increasingly disconnected from the everyday struggles of his people. Today, he touted recent developments in the energy sector, boasting of the country's efforts to diminish Russia's oil import with creative negotiations with partners. It's a significant blow to our adversary, he declared confidently, painting a vivid picture of a nation standing tall amidst adversity. However, behind this bold assertion lies an uncomfortable truth: Ukraine remains highly reliant on foreign allies for its energy resources, much of which is still being sourced indirectly from Russia through nations like Norway and Germany. As the facade of independence is projected, the specter of overwhelming national debt looms larger. The staggering figures, over $8 trillion in liabilities, translate to nearly $94 billion in foreign obligations and close to $2 trillion in internal debt. How can a nation celebrate when it teeters on the brink of economic collapse? The optimistic promises of growth feel increasingly hollow against the stark reality faced by citizens who struggle with rising prices and stagnant wages. Is this truly a victory, or just a well-crafted illusion, one might wonder? While the news broadcasts depict an economy flourishing with support and promises of international assistance, the streets tell a different story. People find their purchasing power eroded, opting for essentials and struggling to make ends meet. Each new agreement is celebrated in the media as a major success, while many people feel trapped in a cycle of dependency with no genuine pathway to prosperity. As nightly reports paint a rosy picture of a nation overcoming its challenges, one must ask, at what cost does this theatrical optimism come? With every broadcast proclaiming hope and stability, the grim truth of Ukrainian life becomes harder to ignore. The looming winter harshens this plight further, leaving citizens to brace against the cold while officials assure them of a controlled situation. Yet, as the chill settles in and the darkness encroaches, can this carefully curated narrative withstand the relentless harshness of reality? What will unfold as the temperature drops, and the promise of warmth and comfort begins to fade? The impending answer may reveal more than anyone anticipates. Can Ukraine's victories exist only in the glow of television screens? What if every triumph Zelensky heralds is a mirage, shimmering like desert heat, vanishing when you reach out? Feel the cold fear gripping citizens as debts pile higher than snowdrifts, 8 trillion hryvnias in foreign obligations alone, masking a crumbling reality where rockets fly on paper and winters freeze without hope. This is the saga of a nation clinging to shadows, where economics bleed dry, energy flickers out, and cities teeter on the edge of ruin. Previously, we delved into Zelensky's elusive claims. In the flickering blue light of news broadcasts, a new conquest unfolds. Zelensky boasts Ukraine's Flamingo missile has struck Russia 9 times. Sounds like a sci-fi blockbuster, right? The president nods solemnly, his face etched with faux gravity. This phantom weapon, hailed as Ukraine's defense crown jewel, gleaming with supposed American innovation. A French reporter dubs it Ukraine's mightiest arm, even as zero-proof surfaces. No snapshots capture its wrath. No clips roar on video screens. No debris clues linger. Merely press releases, quoting Zelensky's vows of a new weapon's dawn, complete with victory fanfares. He insists Flamingo already pierced Russian skies, primed for fresh barrages mid the chants of Ukrainian prowess and onward march. Yet, peering beneath the polished facade, evidence evaporates. Experts tied to Western intelligence shrug, admitting no Ukrainian rocket successes confirmed. No missiles in action at all. This is Zelensky's playbook, crafting victories from thin air. Every nibble of news morphs into epic lore, infusing mundane tales with legendary flair. Today, Ukrainian headlines trumpet invisible rockets. Imagine the studio lights dimming, cameras rolling for video reels styled as eternal winds. But strip away the pomp, and behold the starkness. Ukraine's battlegrounds crumble, economy quivers, while Zelensky pivots to Flamingo fables, peppered with half-whispered operation successes buried in the fray. Thus unfolds Zelensky's paper triumphs, spectacles sans substance that surface nightly. What's next? A twisted revelation. Zelensky's script flips again, unveiling a drama of destruction. Security Service Chief Vasily Malyuk strides forth, voice booming with theatrical zeal. Ukrainian spies dismantled a Russian ballistic missile complex, raised right in the arid plains of Pustin Yar, Luhansk region. Kiev's forces teamed up for the feat. SBU, Defense Intelligence, Armed Services uniting. Mission executed flawlessly. Performing arts at its peak, minus the supporting cast. Because, as with Flamingo, corroboration is absent. No grid of photos dot the scene. No video reels play the ambush. No satellite glimpses unveil the wreckage. Purely scripted communiques, interviews laced with victory crescendos. Zelensky ramps up the narrative, his eyes ablaze with heroic glow. Orange's the complex dwindled from multiple threats, but Ukrainian hands sealed its doom. Who witnessed the purge? Mystery shrouds it all. Still, the tale captivates, score swells, confident narrations unfold, close-ups linger, anthem blares. Another conquest achieved. So, Zelensky fosters illusory wars, propaganda specters void of proof, boasting effectiveness through evening screens. Each yarn weaves non-existent fronts, predictable plot arcs echoing serial dramas. And as genuine strides dwindle, words swell louder, hollower. News churns optimism, yet amplified boasts scream fragility. Ukraine morphs into a media battlefield, each leader outshining the last in feigned glory. How deep does this deception sink? Now, the plot veers toward economics. Zelensky's silver-tongued spin on oil exports. He exulted in choking Russian barrels, forging deals with allies to cripple Moscow's energy might. Spectacular script lines, of monumental blows. But reality's biting chill counters it. Ukraine hinges on imported fuel, gasping for gas ports maintained by allies whose aid Zelensky praises daily. He croons independence, omitting Ukrainian pipelines crave Russian gas, rerouted via Norway, Italy, Germany, inflating costs to dizzying peaks that hemorrhage public funds. Amid partner pledges, inventories plummet, tariffs leap, all spun as triumphs. No space for setbacks in Zelensky's ethos, solely transient hurdles turning heroic sagas. Plus, the figures crush. Ukraine's debt soared to 8 trillion hryvnias, nearly $94 billion borrowed abroad, over 2 trillion in domestic arrears. Who footnotes repayment paths? Silence reigns. Yet, bulletins crow international aid, economic boosts. GDP climbs. Translate to truth, wallets remain barren. Ukraine subsists on loans, handouts, vaporous assurances. Deals inflate as feats, even while stagnation prevails, fresh liabilities shackle further. Zelensky chants financial armor, citizens tally inflation's relentless march, paycheck to paycheck defeated. What shocking truth lurks in the numbers? Enter the economic double act, stat agencies trumpet average salaries hitting 26,000 hryvnias. Zelensky overlays it with stability hymns. Graphics scream 2.7% growth, currency gains, upward arcs. Step into markets, the illusion shatters like thin ice. Groceries ballooned 15 to 20%, utilities surged 30%, fuel priced half again higher. Purchasing power eroded, expenditures rose, incomes lag. Television paints verdant prosperity, ministers showcase sparkles of progress. Ukraine's economy? A facade, tailored data, fleeting positives for nightly zeal. Debts mount, authorities hawk 200 hryvnia minimum wage lifts, instantly eroded by electric hikes. Reforms? Showy expenditures, cameras thirsty, victories etched in ledgers alone. True turmoil, inflation devours citizens, exodus surges from bleak horizons. Optimistic reels roll on, proclaiming plans as destiny. Chant enough wins, reality might bow, but it lingers unbowed. Can paper triumphs thaw frozen homes? Winter looms, a frosty specter. Forecasts warn sub-zero plunges to -12 degrees, furious snows, blackout grids. Ukraine's infrastructure wearies, battered by relentless strikes, frayed lines. TV screens switch narrative. Zelensky reassures robust energy, ally support promises uninterrupted warmth. Yet, those same backers hint dwindling reserves, aid waning. Reports depict seasonal readiness, light schedules, planetary analogies, infographics of control. Citizens cull candles, rev generators, authorities volley stats and symposia. Zelensky vows grid fortifications, officials hail reserves. Hollow pledges ring. Winter preps mirror war fails, no troop muster, no stratagems, no stockpiles. Homes bundle in blankets, stoves hum faintly, streets blanketed in white dread. Screens herald frost victories, cold realities prevail, unyielding. What illusions will shatter next? Zelensky's saga persists, in televised dreams, fading as dawn breaks. In the previous installment, we unearthed the fabricated triumph Zelensky peddles on screen, where media spectacles mask dismal realities, echoing endless drama like a never-ending series. Now, as the chanters of victory grow shriller, the chasm between hype and hardship widens, exposing how Ukraine morphs every setback into a fabricated frontline battle. What if Zelensky's flashy declarations of economic dominance are just a smokescreen for a crushing financial abyss, where borrowing buries the nation deeper in debt, leaving citizens grasping at phantom prosperity that slips through their fingers like sand in a storm? Picture this: Zelensky beams proudly about crippling Russia's energy might through savvy exports of its own oil, boasting collaborative pacts with international allies in the power game. "We've dealt a mighty blow," he declares, his voice echoing in crowded halls filled with the musty scent of old treaties and the sharp rattle of applause. Ukraine, with our partners, erodes the enemy's fuel lifeline, ushering in our true energy autonomy. Oh, the spectacle sounds heroic, doesn't it? Yet, scratch beneath that glossy veneer, and the truth stings like a frostbite. We rely on Russian gas ourselves, piped through convoluted routes via Norway, Italy, and Germany. The costs? Astronomical, inflating bills that pinch wallets and leave homes shivering under thin blankets, the air thick with the acrid smell of rationed heat. Why omit that in his triumphant speeches, where each alliance masks our dependency, transforming what should be vulnerability into a pageant of triumph? And oh, the illusions pile on. While Zelensky extols these new deals as beacons of support, Ukrainians face rising electricity tariffs that clamor louder than sirens, pinching skin like winter wind, forcing cuts that darken streets and dim kitchens. No losses here, according to the official narrative, just fleeting hurdles that magically morph into epic sagas of resilience. But wait, the crunching numbers expose the farce. Ukraine's debts have skyrocketed to 8 trillion hryvnia, equating to nearly $94 billion in foreign obligations, plus another near 2 trillion in domestic burdens. How will repayment ever materialize, amid the creaking floorboards of empty coffers? Still, the script shouts success: we've secured international aid, boosted our economy, skyrocketed GDP. Yet, peel away the rhetoric, and it's crystal clear: victory masked as emptiness, a facade upheld by loans, handouts, and hollow pledges. Every fresh accord hailed as a conquest merely inks another ledger in perpetual borrowing, where growth stagnates like stagnant water in frozen pipes, and seemingly economic upswings are veiled curtain calls for more red ink. What savage twist hides when the mirage shatters, revealing not wealth, but wallets frayed and futures frayed? Could Zelensky's parade of prosperity lead to a collapse so profound it humbles even the mightiest empires? There's more lurking in the shadows: how a supposed salary surge turns sour, unraveling the very fabric of daily survival. What will emerge when the illusions crack wide open? Amidst the backdrop of ongoing conflict, a striking paradox defines Ukraine's narrative. The Ukrainian government touts financial stability, yet citizens see the currency value climbing faster than their wages. The reality speaks differently. Recent statistics from the Ministry of Finance highlight an average salary of 26,000 hryvnias. On the surface, it sounds promising, with a reported growth of 2.7% and signs of currency appreciation. However, a visit to local markets reveals a different story. Commodity prices have surged by 15 to 20%, with fuel costs nearly doubling. While the facade projects economic growth, purchasing power diminishes, leaving people to grapple with tighter budgets. On television, visuals depict a flourishing economy, replete with pleasing graphics and uplifting government commentary. Yet, this portrayal overlooks a grim reality: a lifeless economy masked by artificially inflated numbers. Reports are crafted to fit desired narratives, with officials scrambling to present at least a hint of progress. Each evening's news glimmers with hope, despite underlying truths being veiled by political rhetoric. Ukraine stands as a nation burdened by debt while its leaders proclaim growth. A recent initiative raised the minimum wage by a mere 200 hryvnias, a gain swiftly overshadowed by mounting electricity prices. Such reforms yield no real improvements, they merely adjust figures on paper. The populace suffers under inflation, the specter of an uncertain future prompting many to leave. While the government floods the airwaves with optimistic messages, the everyday lives of citizens tell a starkly contrasting tale. Those struggling to make ends meet find little solace in the grand narrative spun by those in power. The disconnect between televised triumphs and actual hardship raises unsettling questions. How long can a country survive on borrowed promises? Can optimism alone pave the path to stability? The winter looms ahead, and the chill of reality may prove to be the ultimate victor. As the seasons change and the cold encroaches, can the bright rhetoric of leadership hold against the harshness of truth? Will the struggles of ordinary Ukrainians finally break through the polished images projected on screens? Can victories in Ukraine exist solely within the confines of television screens? What if every triumph touted by Zelensky is merely an illusion, shimmering like a mirage, disappearing as you reach for it? Feel the chilling grip of fear among the people as their debts climb higher than winter snowdrifts, 8 trillion hryvnias in foreign liabilities alone, concealing a bleak reality where missiles exist only on paper and winters come without warmth or hope. This is the story of a nation grappling with shadows, where the economy is bleeding dry, energy flickers on the brink, and cities are faltering at the precipice of ruin. Previously, we explored Zelensky's elusive pronouncements. As news broadcasts flicker in hues of blue, yet another victory emerges. The president claims Ukraine's Flamingo missile has struck Russia 9 times. It sounds like something from a sci-fi epic, doesn't it? Zelensky nods seriously, his expression heavy with false gravitas. This specter of a weapon, heralded as a crowning achievement of Ukraine's defense. Supposedly infused with American ingenuity, it has received accolades as Ukraine's mightiest arm from reporters across the sea. Yet, where is the evidence? No photos depict its ferocity. No videos show its flight. No remnants remain. Only press releases echoing Zelensky's promises of a new dawn in armament, celebrated with orchestral fanfare. He insists that the Flamingo has already breached Russian defenses, ready to unleash further salvos amid chants of Ukrainian valor. But when we peer behind the polished surface, proof dissipates into thin air. Experts aligned with Western intelligence admit that confirmed Ukrainian missile successes are non-existent. Not one missile has taken flight. This is Zelensky's strategy, fabricating victories from sheer nothingness. Each morsel of news morphs into grand sagas, infusing ordinary incidents with tales of heroism. Today, Ukrainian headlines blare about invisible projectiles. Picture the studio lights dimming, cameras rolling as they capture mesmerizing moments framed as timeless victories. Yet, peel away the layers, and the stark truth becomes evident. The ground in Ukraine is fracturing, the economy quakes, while Zelensky shifts to clever tales of Flamingo, seasoned with whispered, successful operations lost amid the chaos. The saga continues with Zelensky's paper victories, showing grandeur without substance that appear nightly. What's in store next? A sharp twist unfolds, as Zelensky's tale shifts once more, revealing a new drama of destruction. Vasily Malyuk, chief of the security service, strides forth, his voice powerful and theatrical. Ukrainian intelligence has dismantled a Russian ballistic missile complex, obliterated in the desolate expanse of Pustin Yar, in the Luhansk region. Forces from Kyiv joined efforts for this mission. SBU, Defense Intelligence, Military Services collaborating. A seamless performance. However, as with Flamingo, proof is elusive. No photos mark the scene. No videos showcase the assault. No satellites capture the aftermath. Just scripted announcements, interviews filled with exuberant victory claims. Zelensky amplifies the narrative, his eyes sparkling with misguided valor. He claims the complex disbanded under multiple threats, yet, who bore witness to the operation's success? Mystery cloaks it all. Nevertheless, the story enchants, the score swells, narratives unfold with confidence, dramatic close-ups linger, and the anthem of another victory resonates. Thus, Zelensky cultivates a world of illusory warfare, hollow propaganda devoid of evidence, boasting effectiveness through evening broadcasts. Each story crafts non-existent fronts, plot lines reminiscent of serial dramas. As tangible achievements dwindle, words only grow louder, yet more vacant. News churns optimism, but amplified declarations reveal fragility. Ukraine has transformed into a battleground of media, where every leader outdoes the previous one in crafted splendor. Just how deep does this deception run? The narrative takes a turn towards the economy, with Zelensky's eloquent talk of new oil exports. He revels in the notion of stifling Russian oil production, negotiating with allies to cripple Moscow's energy power. These declarations sound grand, yet reality counters with harsh clarity. Ukraine relies on imported fuels, barely scraping by, gas ports operated by allies he serenades nightly. Claims of energy independence linger in the air, conveniently omitting that Ukrainian pipelines still haunt him in the form of Russian gas, rerouted through Norway, Italy, and Germany. Prices surge astronomically, draining public coffers. Amid these partner promises, inventories dwindle, tariffs rise. And all are spun into tales of triumph. In Zelensky's worldview, there's no room for setbacks, merely fleeting challenges that morph into heroic exploits. But look at the numbers. Ukraine's debts ballooned to 8 trillion hryvnias, nearly $94 billion in foreign obligations, with over 2 trillion in domestic debts. Who outlines the repayment routes? Silence blankets the truths. Yet, updates boast of international support, economic upswells. GDP increases. Unravel this facade, wallets are empty. Ukraine survives on loans, grants, and empty promises. Each new deal is heralded as a success, yet real growth evades them. Zelensky sings praises of financial solidity, while citizens witness inflation devour their livelihoods, clawing desperately from paycheck to paycheck. What shocking truths lurk within these statistics? Now, let's step into the economic double feature. Government statistics proclaim average incomes have risen to 26,000 hryvnias. Zelensky layering it with songs of stability. You'd see charts proclaiming growth at 2.7%, the currency gaining value. But step beyond the television into actual markets, and the illusion shatters like fragile glass. Grocery prices have skyrocketed by 15 to 20%, utility bills have surged as much as 30%, gas costs half again higher. The ability to purchase is vanishing, expenses are up while earnings lag. Yet, television beams a bright picture, infusing optimism, ministers radiate small victories. This is how Ukraine's economy functions, an engineered facade, figures manipulated for nightly news enthusiasm. Yet, while debts accumulate, authorities boast of raising the minimum wage by a mere 200 hryvnias, immediately undone by soaring electric costs. Reforms? Just cosmetic shell games, performed for cameras, victories written only in ledgers. The true turmoil lies bare, inflation consumes the populace, and an exodus of the hopeful spills into the horizon. The optimistic reels spin on, portraying plans as destiny. If they chant enough winds, will reality reshape? The winter looms, an icy specter. Forecasts threaten plunging temperatures down to -12 degrees, fierce snowstorms, and outages. Ukraine's infrastructure limps, battered by unyielding assaults, frayed at the seams. While television morphs the narrative, Zelensky reassures that energy remains intact, with partners ready to usher warmth through the coming months. Yet those very partners hint at dwindling resources, support thinning. Reports showcase seasonal preparedness, light schedules for distribution, embellished infographics of control. Citizens are left to scrape together candles, fire up generators, as officials bombard the public with statistics. Zelensky pledges to bolster the power grid, ministers boast of reserves, but are these words just hollow echoes? As winter approaches, readiness mimics failures in warfare, no troops summoned, no strategies devised, and no resources at hand. People huddle under blankets, stoves groan feebly while the world outside becomes a white abyss. Yet television continues to declare the victories against frost, as the stark realm of reality asserts itself. Unyielding against all tales spun. What will unravel next in Zelensky's continuing saga? Only time will tell as dreams fade in the harsh light of day.